Hey, my beautiful people. In this video, I'm going to talk about my key takeaways from John C. Maxwell's book, Failing Forward. And this book pretty much just goes into the commonality between successful people and how they handle failure and use them to propel forward as stepping stones towards success. And I just wrote down a few notes here that I'm just going to read from as for my key takeaways. So key takeaway number 1, the difference between average people and achieving people is their perception of failure and their response to failure. So how do you perceive failure? Do you see it as something as uncommon? Do you see if you were to fail that you'd be like, oh my God, I'm the one that failed. I'm the uncommon one, I'm the outlier, it's just me, I failed, oh no, wow. Or do you see something as something that's going to be occurring on a regular basis, that you're always going to be experiencing failure no matter what? And that's something that you should be looking at as. You should be looking at you should be looking at failure as something that's going to happen more often than success. It's just like sales. For every 100 calls you get, you're gonna get 2 or 3 sales, 1 or 2 sales. And you failed 98 times though. So failure will always occur more than success. That's the reality. Key takeaway number 2, redefine failure. So here's some things to consider when we think about failure. Failure is not avoidable. Whatever you do in life, you're going to anticipate failure. Failure is going to happen in your life. And if it's not occurring on a regular basis for you, that means you're not taking enough risk, or you're not doing enough things to experience failure, to at least have some sort of failures throughout the day or throughout achieving your goals. Failure is not an event. It is a process, just like success is a process. So don't think of failure as like some kind of percentage or test, like immediately at the end of the thing you failed. No, it's a process. It's something that just occurs on the way to your goals. That's all it is. Failure is not objective. So you are the only one. You're the only one that can define failure. You're the only one that can see something and be like, look, that failed. That was a failure. But you know what? There's lots of things that you don't have to define as a failure. Thomas Edison was a perfect example. He tried, I think it was 10,000 times to create the light bulb. And you know what's interesting about that? Some guy said he was crazy. You almost got yourself killed at one of his experiments. But he said, that wasn't an experiment. I didn't fail. That was just a learning experience for me. That's all he identified it as. Failure is not the enemy. Don't try to run away from failure. Don't think of it as something that you gotta fight against. Nah. Think of failure as your best mate. It's something that it's going to happen, and it's an indicator to change the game, to change what you're doing. Failure is not irreversible. So you can always come back. You can always come back from failure. You never have to fear where it's something that's just there, that just happens and then you can't come back from it. Or you can always make a comeback from failure. Always. People think failure is a stigma. Rather, you shouldn't make the mistakes. You shouldn't be able to have the mistakes to let them get you down. You shouldn't be thinking in that way, because then you're just gonna allow it to take over. It's not a stigma. It's something that just happens. You can move on from it. People think failure is final. It's not true. Failure is a price to pay to achieve success. It's something that will occur on your way to success. Okay, so key takeaway number 3. These are six abilities that enable achievers to not take failure personally and actually move them forward. So achievers accept rejection. They accept rejection, they take responsibility for their actions, but not personally. They actually can take the action, and if something doesn't work, they won't allow it to define them. They won't allow it to affect them personally. They'll say, all right, that is something that happened as a result of the action I took. Let's see if I can change it. Let's learn from this experience. And the next takeaway, next ability is they see failure as temporary. It is not something that it's a permanent thing, failure. No, they see something as I'm failing just right now, not permanently. Number 3, achievers see failure as isolated experiences. So it's only an isolated experience. It's only that one time that's happening right now. They only see it as just a momentary event, not a lifetime experience. It's not something that's just going to keep happening, boom, 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 boom. Nah. It's just happening to you right now. It's just isolated experiences. Achievers keep realistic expectations. It's important. So achievers know that if they're winning the game, they're winning, they're gonna fail eventually. Same thing, if they're failing, they know they're gonna win eventually if they change it up. They have that realistic expectation, and they know what is the way it is. Achievers focus on strengths. So this is an interesting thing to think about, because when you know what your strengths are, when achievers, especially for me, I know I can talk, I can communicate, communicate savvy, I feel, and I can magnify on that strength and do videos like this. Same thing for other people. They can know, they identify their strengths and they magnify it, expose and turn them into diamonds. Number 6, achievers bounce back. So achievers actually look at life as a series of outcomes. They look at it as a series of outcomes. They're able to look at things from an objective perspective and be like what they did right, and then they just magnify that. And then they also look at things what went wrong, and then they can look at what they did wrong and then learn from it, and then they can bounce back onto that. They wouldn't let them get them down. Key takeaway number 4. So no matter what happens to you, failure is an inside job. So just take a second to think about that. Failure is an inside process. It's an inside job, right? Failure is created within the person. Many people try to control the circumstances within their lives. And the actual reality is that you can't control the hands you're dealt with, but you can control how you handle the cards. And there's so many stories, so many examples out there of people that shouldn't have succeeded, but they did. They had all the things that happened to them, all the things, the way they were born, the circumstances they were in, the events that occurred, the situations that were given to them. They should not have succeeded, but they did, because they were able to deal with the cards that they were dealt with effectively. A perfect example of that would be Oprah Winfrey. She was molested as a child by her uncle. Her pregnancy fell through when she was like 15 years old, and she went to rehab. Mental institution. She went crazy after that. It got really bad. And what's interesting though, but she look at her now. She still made it on top. She dealt with the cards that she got, and she did it effectively. Key takeaway number 5. Say goodbye to your past mistakes. So focus on what you're good at. You must know who you are and face your flaws. So when you know deep down who you are, what your flaws are, then that's when you can know when you can actually be able to build on those flaws. Like you can actually rectify them, fix them up, and focus, and then then you can actually, when you know what your flaws are, you can also know what you're good at as well. So that's another good example of finding out what you're good at, what your strengths are. And a process to finding your flaws is to see yourself clearly. Be honest with yourself. Just be like, all right, just look at it objectively if you're looking at another person. And number 2, that doesn't mean self-attack, that just means to be able to look at it objectively. So number 2, admit your flaws honestly. So look at yourself, be realistic, and just be honest with yourself. You don't have to lie to yourself. Just love yourself and be honest with yourself. Number 3, discover your strengths joyously. So this is where it gets real interesting. You can be like, oh, this is what I'm really good at. You can start getting enthusiastic about this part. But this is what I'm really good at. This is what I like. This is I'm actually good at these sorts of things. And then number 4 is to build on those strengths passionately. Once you know what your strengths are, you build on them. You turn them into diamonds and you strengthen them. Because, that's the way we should be living, strengthening on what you're good at. Key takeaway number 6. So here's several reasons why you should embrace adversity. So, number 1, adversity embraces resilience. So this is really cool, because when you're overcoming adversity, when you're anticipating, when you're facing adversity, you're building like a tough outer skin against you, because you're overcoming challenges. It's like breaking down the muscle, and then every time you go to gym, you work out, you break down the muscle, and then the muscle grows and becomes bigger and stronger. You're building that resilience in you. You're becoming tougher. You're getting stronger. Number 2, adversity develops maturity. So when you anticipate adversity, you're actually starting to learn a few things about the way things are, the way the environment is, the way you're situated, what kind of situation you're in, what kind of people you're dealing with, and you know things about yourself as well. You become much more wiser and much more knowledgeable in whatever area or industry that you're actually undergoing or trying to become successful in. Number 3, adversity pushes the envelope that pushes performance. So adversity is going to actually make you it's going to push you to that point where you have to get stronger. You're going to have to get better to perform and increase, and that in itself will increase your performance. You will get better. You will become stronger. Number 4, adversity provides opportunity. So think of adversity in the sense that when businesses have to come into the market and they become really successful, when businesses start becoming really successful as a result of adversity because they have to overcome challenges, it provides opportunity because they have to start they can create new markets, they can create new jobs, they can create new corporate cultures, new things. It creates opportunity in that way. Another thing to consider is that it also prompts innovation. A perfect example is Steve Jobs when he created the iPhone, the smartphone. The iPhone, that just changed the entire game of the phone market. Everyone's got a touch phone now, everyone's got a smartphone now. It's just the way things are. And that in itself, I'm so grateful for adversity for that to have happened, because now I can go on an iPhone. Adversity motivates. So when you're anticipating adversity, think of it climbing up as a ladder. Like you're facing challenges head on. You're competing against other people. It motivates you, G's you up to become better, and that can rub off on other people as well. Why do you think people love watching sports? It's like you're watching this competition play out. Like, wow, it's incredible. It's such an incredible experience to be a part of and to enjoy. And in itself, being in the game in itself is an amazing experience as well. Key takeaway number 7. So it's what you do after you get back up that what counts. So that's really important to think about. It's what you do back after. What you do after you get back up is what counts. So that's really, really important, because when you get knocked down, what do you do? Do you just get back straight up and then just throw a swing? Nah, that's not the way it should work. You gotta be able to have that time to reflect, whether it's a couple of seconds, couple of days, couple of weeks. Be able to have that time, a couple months, even I don't know, even for a year, I don't know, but having that time for reflection to know what your next move is, what you're going to do next, and then attack, and then go for it, and straight away. Then you have a plan in place. At least you know what you didn't work, and then you change it up. You're just making the little tweaks, a little tweak, and then try again. Just another way, and then at least that way you know that you're creating a lot of different maneuvers, a lot of avenues that you know don't work, or what will work. You will eventually find that one that will work and push you to success. Alright, well that's my key takeaways from John C. Maxwell's book, Failing Forward. Amazing book. I truly recommend it. And that's the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and you take care, yeah? Bye.